Hey everyone, this is Shane with Omni Technologies. Today we're going to be looking at RS2's AccessIt Universal Software, and we're going to be talking about how you manage holidays. Now when we're talking about holidays in the software, we're really talking about how we deal with them when they fall during our normally scheduled events in the system, like unlocking a door or controlling access through an access level. So when we have those things set up on a recurring schedule, an interval, what do we do when a holiday falls right in the middle of it? If I'm unlocking a door during the week and I've got a holiday and I don't want that door to unlock like it normally would, well, how do I manage that? It's very simple. We can do that through the use of holidays. And in the RS2 AccessIt software, we can get to the holidays section by going to the configuration area in the software on the left, clicking on holidays. And we actually just had a holiday. Christmas was yesterday during the week, so it's a great example. I already created it, but you can, it's very simple to do. You can click new, and we'll go ahead and put New Year's in here as well because that's next week. And then I would put, the good naming conventions are advised. You're going to put the day of the week. So for me, I'm going to say it's a one-day holiday. If it was 2 days, then you would just adjust the, the end date as needed. I could do the second if we were going to be closed, the second as well. Global holiday checkbox, that applies if you're on an enterprise system. If you've got multiple sites, then it will create that holiday for all sites. Otherwise, it's going to be site specific. I am not on enterprise. I'm just going to leave it as is. Now, what are all these different types? We've got, or groups rather. We've got 8 different holiday groups, 1 through 8. And I will say that this, I think, is what tends to confuse people the most. They really overthink this and kind of get lost in the weeds as to what do I do with all these types. And the simplest way I could explain it is just it gives you a lot of flexibility, because the reality is if you're a small company, if you're using your system in a very simple way, you're probably not going to use all 8 holiday groups. But if you're a large organization and you have a lot of different groups within the company, different buildings that may observe the holiday differently, this gives you a lot of flexibility, because you can create holidays of a certain type, and then on the interval level, through the checking and unchecking of the boxes, just like with days of the week, you can decide if that's going to run on a holiday or not. So for my example, though, I'm going to keep it real simple, and we're just going to call it a holiday type 1. And you can give these friendly names. If you see, I've named a couple of them. You do that in site settings, and you can assign a friendly name there and save it. And beware, if you do that, it will reset all of your SCPs. So it can be disruptive if you do that right in the busy part of a day. You may want to do that during off hours or something if that's going to cause you problems. So I'll come back to that at the end, show you where you can do that. But again, that is under site settings in the system area of the software. So again, just wanted to show you how you create a holiday. I've created a one-day holiday for New Year's next week, assigned it to global type 1 for me, and I've saved it. Now, let's go to intervals. So we wanted to look at how these work exactly on the interval level. I've got 2 test unlocks set up that I'm using in my time zone. As you can see, if I go to that, I've got these same 2 intervals in here. Now, the cool thing in RS2 software is if you're clicked on a time zone, they give you this visual map of what it's going to do for a given week. And because I've already created the holiday, then it creates an exception for that holiday. Normally it would run on Thursday, but because I've called that a type 1 holiday and it's not checked on my interval, then it will automatically not run on that holiday, which is why it's red. Now, what if I do want it to run? What if I want it to effectively ignore the holiday? Well, I can do that by going to my interval, and again, I know that Christmas was on a Thursday, so it's going to affect my Monday through Friday interval in this case, but really the point is you need to evaluate all of your intervals when you're adding holidays, because if you put one holiday in, it will affect every single interval that you have. So you have to make sure ahead of time, I cannot stress that enough, that you have looked at every interval and you've made sure that you've got ones checked where it needs to be checked. Because let's say you've got intervals that you're using in time zones for an access level. If you still want people to get in the building even though it's a holiday, then you had better make sure you've got all your holidays checked. Otherwise, you're going to have people showing up at the building and not being able to get in if you forgot to do that. So really, again, can't stress that enough. But in this case, I just wanted to show you what if I still want this time zone to run even though it's a holiday. Well, think of it like a day of the week. If you want it to run on a Monday, Tuesday, on down the line, you place a check mark there in that box. The same is true for a holiday. If you want it to run on that type of holiday, you place a check mark there. And then I save it. So now if I go over here, you will see that it went from red to green for Thursday. Come back here, uncheck it. Now it should be red again. Now it will not run. Last thing I'm going to show you. What if you want to do like maybe an alternate set of hours? Maybe we're not going to be open 8 to 5, maybe we're going to be open 8 to noon. This is a cool thing you can do. In my example, I've created an alternate interval for alternate unlock hours, 8 to noon. And rather than check any days of the week, I'm just going to use the holiday type itself as my input event. So I'm saying when there's a holiday type 1, I want you to run this interval. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my time zone. I'm going to add that in, and I'm going to save it. And now when I look at this, I can see that it reflects that change. Now it's going to run 8 to noon. So really cool thing you can do to kind of tweak your normal hours for anything. So I hope that was helpful. The last thing I'll show you is I did talk about friendly names. And again, that is done on sites. If you click on your site, if you're on an enterprise system with multiple sites, then you have the ability to name each site's holidays independently. So you would need to go through and do each one. Again, when you make this change, I'll just delete this, but it's going to reset all of your panels. So I'll click Save. It's going to give you this warning. It's going to say, hey, it's going to reset all the panels in your site. I don't care in my case. I'm going to click Reset All Panels, and it's immediately going to restart, which I'm going to get a COM fail as soon as I come over here. Okay, maybe not immediately. Sometimes it takes a minute, but again, be aware of that, because if you have a very busy system, this can be very disruptive. It's kind of like rebooting your phone. When you reset your panel, it's going to clear the memory, reboot, and then download a fresh configuration. So during that period, until it's fully downloaded, things are not going to work. Cards aren't going to work. Your time zones, schedules, those will all revert back to default. So just do that in a wise way. And that's all I got for you today. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a good day. We'll catch you on the next one.